Welcome back. We're joined over the phone by Ambassador Wafaa Bassim, the former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good evening to you, Madam Ambassador.
Good evening, dear.
Can you tell us about the significance of the South Korean president's visit? It's been 16 years, and in the last 5 years, in the 5 years before, the president had visited South Korea. How did the relationship develop in the last 5 years?
Well, it has developed in a very significant manner because when President Sisi went in 2016 to pay a visit, an official visit to South Korea,
yes,
he had built on decades of strong relationships, especially in the economic, trade, commercial, technological level. But when he went there, this relation has been institutionalized in the sense that the two parties have signed what we could call the collaboration or cooperation partnership. And at that time, this partnership that was documented, it was a document, had given the opportunity of the volume of around $3 billion of cooperation to be implemented, and the signature of many agreements in different fields. Along the 5 last years, these agreements and that amount of money was invested bit by bit. I mean, and stages by stages until we found what we see now, a lot of projects, joint projects between Egypt and South Korea. In Egypt, a sizable volume of trade on both parties, though of course it's more in favor of South Korea. But with the new agreements, one of them was signed today, as you have seen, with the ministers of economic policies and economics and trade. We are expecting that volume of trade will increase, and at the same time, it will allow to more Egyptian goods to go on the South Korean market. On the other hand, let's not forget the joint ventures and joint factories of IT, of technological equipment, audiovisual, computers and so on, that are now present in Egypt and that are giving the chance for thousands of technicians, engineers, scientists, and workers to find a decent job in a more sustainable way. We know the brands that are here. We know the perspectives also of building cars, of the car constructions and building. We know that there is a lot of interest in many other fields.
Yes, and the South Korean president and President Sisi discussed also the participation of South Korea when it comes to the construction of Al-Daba nuclear power plant. Why is it important to have South Korea as a partner in this project?
Well, first, there is the interest of both parties, the mutual interest in having what we call clean energy.
Yes.
And one of the most important, let's say, qualities or benefits of having nuclear energy, one of them is that it is a clean energy. So there is no pollution. It's handled very well. And South Korea has a great example in the use of nuclear power.
Yes.
So it's probably aiming at participating in being one of the subcontractors that would have to take part of this, what we could call a mega project in the Middle East, not only in Egypt. On the other hand, and in parallel with this, we have seen the great interest that South Korea is showing in cooperating with Egypt for the success of the next summit on climate change, which is the COP27, that's due to take place in Sharm el-Sheikh this year.
Yes.
Energy, sustainable development, green economy, and combating the bad impact or the negative impact of the climate change, they are all issues that go hand in hand and that aim at the welfare of the population, their health, their well-being, and the preservation of their natural resources.
Yes, but prior to the visit itself, the South Korean ambassador spoke about electronic companies having reached an agreement to produce products here in Egypt and export it with a label named Made in Egypt. How important is this for Egypt?
It's important for Egypt, of course, because you have what we would call the localization of the technology on one hand, the localization of industry, and that within these joint cooperation kind of projects, you create a sort of win-win situation. You have the brand name of a great manufacturer of technology, of IT equipment, and so on and so forth, that is well known in the whole world. You have the brand name, but you have also the label of Made in Egypt. That gives the Koreans, the South Koreans, the chance to penetrate Africa through the Egyptian gate.
Yes.
And it's a very important market that almost all industrial tycoons all over the world now are heading at. That will be through the COMESA agreement and through the beginning of the implementation of the all-African trade area that is already entered into force and would be implemented in the next months and years. On the other hand, also for Egypt, it's a great thing that we start having manufactured or made in Egypt because it opens much more opportunities for job creation, for good trade, for acquiring more and more expertise from countries that are in such a favorable position as far as industrial technology is concerned.
Yes, what about tourism coming in from South Korea after this visit? Do you think that the tourism industry will see an uptick when it comes to South Korean tourists?
Well, during the last 2 decades, we have seen the non-classical tourists that are coming from Asia. And South Korea now is among these important nationalities that have tourist flocks coming to the country. If we, of course, exclude the unfortunate period and conditions of COVID-19, but there is a great interest in the South Korean touristic market to come to Egypt under two labels, let's say. The first one is a cultural one, because we have a very good exchange of cultural relations between the two countries. I personally have seen many Koreans studying Arabic economics and Arabic culture in universities of Seoul. And at the same time, we have here cultural South Korean center where many Egyptians are learning the language and the culture. On the other hand, there is an interest on the part of the Korean Egyptologues to come and work with the Egyptian anthropological and monument mission to excavate more and more of the wealth of the ancient Egyptian civilization. And that definitely would attract many more of South Korean tourists to come here.
Okay, Ambassador Wafaa Bassim, the former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you so much for enlightening us on the significance of the South Korean president's visit to Egypt. We're going to take a short break and get back to the show.